Welcome to On a High Note podcast. My name is Chyana Bradley and I am your host. And we come to destroy negative stereotypes placed on cannabis users and the cannabis industry by educating the public on the benefits of cannabis to society and to the economy. I want to thank you guys for tuning in to On a High Note podcast. Again, my name is Chyana Bradley and I'm your host. And I want to introduce myself for all of my supporters and the comrades and allies that we have in the cannabis world. Again, my name is Chyana Bradley. I've been in the cannabis industry for about 5 years now, where I've held several titles, worked in cannabis harvesting and corporate cannabis. And now that I'm in Alabama, I am standing up for cannabis legalization and reform, and also applying to have my own cannabis grow. So here on a High Note podcast, we're going to follow my journey from application to opening of my grow house, and also stand for cannabis legalization and be a part of the fight. Like I said before, I've been in the cannabis industry for about 5 years. Currently, I'm a cannabis broker in the state of Colorado. But like I said, I'm coming to Alabama to have a cannabis grow, and I'm waiting on my application to actually be processed right now. So, what else have I done in the cannabis industry? I've been a harvester, and that's where I started back in 2018 as a harvester at a major cannabis grow. And then I decided to get into the dispensaries, where I was a dispensary retail manager, as well as handling our presence in the community. And so now, after working with a genetics company in Colorado, I've decided to come to Alabama and start a platform where we can educate the public on what's going on in the cannabis industry and to promote change and legalization. My love story with cannabis actually started off in 2016 when I moved to San Diego, California. I was a 26-year-old girl moving straight from New Orleans. I had never tried cannabis in any form at all. And after being a professional and a collegiate athlete, it was completely taboo. So I hadn't drank alcohol, as well as tried any drugs or marijuana of any sort. So I moved to San Diego, and I see all of these marijuana dispensaries. I mean, it had to be about 100 on one boulevard. So I decided to see what I needed to do to purchase legal cannabis. And I went ahead and got my medicinal marijuana card in 2016. In California, you still had to have your marijuana card. And I went to the dispensary and purchased for the first time. So that was how I fell in love with cannabis back in 2016. And I decided that this is something that I want to be a part of, because having the choice to use cannabis in your life or to be a part of the cannabis industry should definitely be something that's exactly that, your choice. It shouldn't be illegal in one state when it's legal and profitable in another state. And I saw that in 2016 in California and decided to get into the industry. So now, after being in the Colorado marijuana industry since 2021, I decided that I have enough expertise and experience to bring this same energy and the same wave to Alabama. Speaking of my love story with cannabis and the first purchase I ever made back in 2016, the first purchase from a dispensary was Veritas Strawberry Milk. Now, Veritas is a company out of Colorado, but they actually had a California grow at that time, and strawberry milk, I like to say, it's like the hope, like an anesthetic. It's a hybrid indica dominant, and it was so strong and so effective that they actually took it off of the recreational side and changed it over to only medicinal. So now the only time you can purchase that particular strand, strawberry milk from Veritas Fine Cannabis, is by having your med card, even now in 2023. So shout out to my favorite strand, Veritas. I love you guys, strawberry milk. Every time I go back to Southern California or South Denver, I always make sure I purchase something special from Veritas. They always have this first cut batch, which is amazing, and they always throw out some great genetics and some great flowers. So I love Veritas, and I've been down with Veritas since 2016 with strawberry milk, and they have yet to let me down. So that is my, initiation into the cannabis world. I want to talk about the job that I hold now in cannabis and what does that mean? Because a lot of people think it's crazy that you can actually work legally in cannabis, and they don't really understand that here in Alabama. And even though I work in Colorado and I'm doing work in Alabama, the physical work in Alabama. So what I do now in Colorado is called cannabis brokerage. We make sure that we maintain the inventory and the stock correct and accurate with the state of Colorado. And in states where marijuana is legal, they track cannabis from seed to plant, from plant to dispensary, from dispensary over to the purchaser, right? So as a cannabis broker, I make sure all of that is correct. All the inventory is up to date. Dispensaries have what they need and the state has the paperwork that they need. So that's how I work in the cannabis world in Colorado. And what I'm doing in Alabama is I am standing up for Bill SB 160, which is the bill to decriminalize marijuana in the state of Alabama. Now, that bill is currently dead in our state legislation, which is quite confusing if you have been listening to different social platforms or even the news giving out news saying that cannabis has been legalized for medicinal purposes in certain counties or decriminalized in the state of Alabama, which is absolutely at this point in 2023 not true. Bill SB 160 would decriminalize the possession of marijuana. It would also allow people with marijuana possessions to process expungement. So if you've gotten a marijuana possession charge and it's not decriminalized, you can start to work towards getting that stain off your record. Or if you are a marijuana participant in any way, it will not be a criminal offense to do that. Now, at the same time, Alabama has legalized marijuana in a medicinal capsule form. Now, what does that mean for the public? That means that you can go to the doctor. That doctor has to be certified as a marijuana licensed specialist, and then you can tell them or get qualified for marijuana use in capsule form. So indica and sativas are sold to you like little vitamin capsules, little gel caps. There's 2 pharmaceutical companies that provide that service to you. So there's absolute control over how you may consume cannabis, as well as who may consume cannabis in Alabama at this time. And it is not decriminalized, so your average citizen in Alabama who would have a personal use amount on them, something as small as a joint, something as small as a dab pen, can be jailed, can be fined, can be arrested, and will be charged with marijuana possession. So by making sure the public knows about Bill SB 160 and the public demands decriminalization of marijuana is how we start the fight for full legalization of cannabis in Alabama. And full legalization means recreational and medicinal, as well as releasing licenses for personal grow. That's what we demand. That's what other states in the country have shown us is working. And that's why I'm bringing you on at High Note Podcast to get the word out and to educate the public on how this benefits us, specifically here in Alabama and in the United States. All right, now, so talking about all that I am doing in the cannabis industry at this time in Alabama, I am a current applicant for a marijuana grow. Now, they do allow marijuana, cannabis, and I'll be using those words interchangeably, to grow for hemp purposes, but now they're going to permit people to grow for THC purposes. So I am one of those applicants. It is a long, grueling process, a lot of things that have not been ironed out. It's a brand new process. So I'll be taking you guys on that journey, from application to the first harvest. That harvest, that farm will be Hummingbird Farm Cannabis, and I will be talking about that a lot. Hummingbird Farms Cannabis Company is going to be something that's major because it's going to be an organic hydroponic grow. It's grown inside of a warehouse, no soil, bringing something new to Alabama. I know we've been seeing farms all over the state, but your girl is going no soil, all hydro, baby. So you know that this is going to be the best flower that you can get, period. So that's what I'm doing right now in the cannabis industry. I have a serious passion for cannabis legalization, not only because that will allow for me to be successful in the cannabis industry, but also because I think that it is everyone's right to be able to consume a plant, any plant they want to. The government has yet to seize the right to grow cucumbers. The government has yet to seize the right to grow mushrooms, but has condemned marijuana to be a plant in which they need to keep, criminalized. They need to keep out of the hands of the citizens. And that is something that we're saying no more. California started the fight back in the 70s, and they've been medicinal since then. And in 2016, going recreational, showing the nation that it is time to allow every citizen over the age of 21 to be able to legally purchase cannabis and to be able to get into the industry and have full-blown careers. And that should be access to not only large pharmaceutical companies or to the 1%, but that license and that access to be to everybody who would like to get into their career, no matter what economic status they are in. And I also want to promote and show the state, the decision makers in Alabama, the proof, the receipts of what cannabis does for our economy. Every state that has legalized both medicinal and recreationally are blowing revenue charts out of the water. And Alabama is refusing to take in legal needed income in revenue that they need right now for major changes by ignoring the fact that cannabis is beneficial to society and to the economy, by ignoring the fact that the citizens demand SB 160 to not only be considered back active but be passed, and for complete legalization of cannabis to be processed immediately. So On a High Note podcast is here to keep you informed, to keep you motivated, and to also bring some of the best and hot cannabis news all over the country. Now, there's only 19 states that have not completely legalized, Alabama being number one with the strictest laws on cannabis or marijuana possession. So I'll be bringing you news from all of our states that have cannabis legalization already pushed through, and for the states where our comrades and allies are working hard for complete legalization. I want you guys to do a few things for me after listening to this podcast. I want you to make sure you go to mpp.org, and that's where you can follow the marijuana movement, where you can see news for the marijuana comrade and ally movements around the country. And then I want you to go to the Alabama Cannabis Commission website, and I want you to check out and see who our directors are, who's leading this commission. Contact them and ask them why Bill SB 160 is dead and demand that it go back to the active status. Now, to get in contact with On a High Note podcast for any questions, or if you want to collab and have a conversation with me, comrades and allies, I invite you to send me an email. And my email is onahighnote podcast420@gmail.com. I'll repeat that for you guys. That's onahighnote podcast420@gmail.com. And make sure you follow us on Facebook at On a High Note Podcast. I'm so thankful for all the support and thankful to have this platform to bring you cannabis news and cannabis information, because cannabis reform is not only for cannabis users and the industry, but it's for every citizen who wants to be able to legally have the choice to intake a plant that may have benefits for them in their health, in their mental, in their spiritual, as well as for entrepreneurs like myself to be able to profit off of a plant like farmers profit off of vegetation all the time. Stay tuned for more to come from On a High Note platform. Y'all make sure y'all follow us on all of our social platforms. And I just want y'all to stay blazing and keep this conversation going, because cannabis legalization is for everyone.